That's, hang on. I want to clean up your area. If there's any left, tissue me. I'm sorry? Another person. Oh, another person. Chloe, do you want to know what I'm doing? China, turn around. Dear, I sent another one. Oh, Miss Grant. Is that another one I can do? How am I supposed to be out there this morning? 3. Take a peek and see if I count 3. Okay. There's 4 out there. Okay, we'll let it go to someone else. Alright, let's finish wings. When you go in the hall to do your project, you do need a pencil. I seated myself on a rock in the middle of the clearing. Overhead, the stars were a million tiny holes punched in the great black blanket of sky. Well done. My wings fanned the still air. Ian, is that you? Anita's voice came from out of the darkness. Yes. Are you all right? Do you want to talk or... No, Anita. I have to be alone. Mom and Dad couldn't help me make my choice. Neither could Miss Pickens or Anita. It was up to me to decide all by myself. Until now, choosing had always... Thank you, Nicola. Neither could Miss Pickens or Anita. It was up to me to decide all by myself. Until now, choosing had always been so easy. Go to the movies or do my homework. Spend my allowance on candy and fun or save for a new baseball glove. Wear old scuzzy clothes to school or put on something really sharp. Even when I picked wrong, it was no big deal. Homework could be made up, and the baseball glove could wait a few weeks, and clothes could be changed. Did you hear that? You did get published? Oh, I'm not sure. I'll put one on there. Okay. There you go, honey. Do you want me to proofread it? Okay. Alright. Yes, just don't make a mess in this one. When I picked wrong, it was no big deal. Homework could be made up, and the baseball glove could wait a few weeks, and clothes could be changed. But my wings? If my wings were removed by the doctor, I'd no longer be a freak who was laughed at and pointed to and chased by reporters. I could go back home where things might be better.
Let's go, Dad.
As Mom had promised. After a while, everybody'd forget about the wings, and I'd be just like everyone else. But never to fly again? never to experience the rush of wind across my great wings, never to look down at the world from on high and know that no other person throughout history had ever done such a thing, to give up the one aspect of my body that made me special and unique and that filled my life with wonder and awe. I may go out and talk. My question. I need my picture on. Yeah. But no picture on me. Just stripes or colors or whatever. Never to look down at the world from on high and know that no other person throughout history had ever done such a thing. To give up the one aspect of my body that made me special and unique and that filled my life with wonder and awe. Whichever way I went, there would be sadness and a sense of loss. Was this a part of growing up? The agony of making such choices? If so, I wanted to stay. If so, I wanted to stay a child forever. Alone and afraid, I sat there in the darkness. When I said goodbye to them on the mountain, Miss Pickens hugged me tightly and Anita kissed my cheek. I managed to get into the back seat of the car, kneel and slam the door before I began blubbering like a baby. Not a word was spoken by either Mom or Dad. Oh yeah. No. By either Mom or Dad as we came down off the mountain. We drove for nearly an hour until we came to a tiny airport. Leaving the car there, we got into a small plane. It was a tight fit for me and my wings. You need a pencil, but I wiggled through the plane's door and lay face down across two of the passenger seats. The engine roared and the plane lurched into the air. It took us hundreds of miles from Blanton. Just before we landed, I peered through the plane window and I saw the lights of the great city below us. From the airport, a taxi brought us to a big red brick building. During the next 2 days, I lay on my stomach in a high bed. I was examined and x-rayed. Blood was sucked from my arm with a needle. There were pills to swallow, and I had to answer endless questions about how I was feeling. A lot of doctors kept coming into my room to stretch out my wings and see what they looked like. Once, a reporter tried to break in. A guard outside the door stopped him. I could hear loud shouting coming from the hallway. On the morning of the third day, I was wheeled on a table into a big room with white tile on the wall. Several people in white with masks tied over their noses and mouths gathered around the table. A woman held a rubber cup with a black hose attached to it. She put the cup to my face. Just breathe deeply, she told me, and count backward from 100. 100. 99. 98. 96. 93. I don't remember anything more. When I came to, I was groggy, as if my brain had been turned into cotton. My eyelids felt heavy, and I kept them closed. It was hard for me to figure out whether I was really awake or still sleeping. I was back in bed, lying on my stomach, and held that way by padded straps wrapped about my wrists and attached to the railings of the hospital bed. I heard a voice. It sounded like Dad whispering something to Mom. A dull pain throbbed across my back. I twitched my shoulder blades under their thick wrapping of bandages and dressing. My wings were gone. Never again would I soar and glide and split the wind and know the glorious feeling of being closer to heaven than any other mortal who had ever lived. I felt a hand grip mine. All at once, for the first time since the wings had begun to grow upon my back, I felt at ease and at peace myself. I knew that in future days and years I'd have doubts about the choice I had made. There would be sadness over the loss of my great wings, a sense that I was trapped upon the surface of the earth instead of able to fly high above it. And maybe the long and bitter arguments with my parents would continue, and it might be difficult or even impossible to regain the friendship of Wade Black. But I would never be alone with my thoughts and misgivings and my grief. For on the hand that gently gripped mine were 6 fingers. That's the end. I did too. I sent both of you guys. Elise, check to see how many they want. I will never read that book to a class again.
I like that one.
I do too.
I do.
Trying to find the 7 wonders of sassafras spring.
I like that. Oh no. Yeah, I was like the only person in the world that has wings. No, I want to have some. He didn't want to be nice.
Tyler, I've been watching you for 18 minutes.
I know, dear. I know the book when I see it.
I've been watching you for 18 minutes. I've been doing this.
Alright, listen up. When I left where the red fern grows, when I left my office that beautiful spring day, I had no idea what was in store for me. To begin with, everything was too perfect. It was one of those days when a man feels good. If it's for by all means. It was one of those days when a man feels good. Feels like speaking to his neighbor. Glad to live in a country like ours and proud of his government. You know what I mean. One of those rare days where everything is right and nothing is wrong. I was walking along whistling when I heard the dog fight. You may go out now. Faith, wait a minute. Faith, have you made your bookmark? No. You may go out now. Oh, yeah, be careful. Ask if they want more than 3. At first I paid no attention to it. After all, it wasn't anything to get excited about. Just another dog fight in a residential section. As the sound of the fight grew near, I could tell there were quite a few dogs mixed up in it. They boiled out of an alley, turned and headed straight toward me. Not wanting to get bitten or run over, I moved over to the edge of the sidewalk. I could see that all the dogs were fighting one. About 25 feet from me, they caught him, and down he went.